A bitter dawn settled over the town, like a damp wool blanket, heavy and cold. The sky hung low with a colorless mist, curling around the splintered wood of the station platform. Missouri, 1906. A place too small for names on maps, but large enough for whispers, for judgment. The Orphan train screeched into the station, iron wheels grinding against frozen tracks, sending up a wail that scattered the roosting crows from the bare-limbed trees. Smoke billowed, curling through the morning fog, the air thick with the smell of soot and wet earth. The children filed out, a line of pale, silent shapes, each one with a tag pinned to their chest. Names scrawled in hurried ink. Birthplaces, birth dates, names of dead parents, if anyone still remembered them. Thin faces, downturned eyes, threadbare sleeves pulled too long over cold, red fingers. The town gathered, as they always did. Farmers smelling of livestock and sweat, wives with hair pulled into tight buns, aprons dusted in flour, old men leaning on canes, young girls clutching baskets of corn muffins, as if charity might make the choosing less cruel. Among the line, near the end, a small boy stood. 7, though his shoulders hung like someone twice his age. Barefoot, his hair hung in unwashed strands, hiding one side of his face. His eyes didn't match his size, too old, too knowing. His tag read, Eli Carter, New York. A matron stepped off the train, her dark dress stiff as cardboard, her face sharp as cut glass. She barked the same instructions she had at every town, from Ohio to Kansas. Stand up straight. Smile if you can. The children straightened. Some forced small, thin-lipped smiles. Most just stared ahead, bracing against what was coming. The townsfolk circled, inspecting, picking, measuring. Strong boys for the fields, pretty girls for the kitchens, babies for women who couldn't make their own. It was a market dressed in Sunday manners. A tall woman in a lavender bonnet stooped in front of a blonde girl beside Eli, brushing the child's tangled hair back behind her ear. Her fingers smelled like lavender soap. Eli's stomach growled, sharp and hollow, but no one noticed. One by one, the names were called. Not in alphabetical order. Not by age. Only by interest. An auction without coins, though the transaction was no less mercenary. A wiry boy with wide shoulders was taken by a rancher with mud-caked boots. A girl with clear blue eyes was led away by a woman with soft hands and hard eyes. Then Eli stepped forward, his voice small, cracked but clear, cutting through the cold morning air like a dropped stone into a still pond. Will someone take me? The town square stilled. The farmers turned their heads. The wives looked down. A boy in the crowd snickered, elbowing his younger brother, who bit his lip to keep from laughing too. The matron's gaze snapped to Eli, her lips pressed thin. Quiet, Eli. He shrank back a step, the toy soldier in his hand, its arm broken off long ago, hung limp at his side. Its paint was gone, leaving only worn, splintered wood. The bell rang. High and cold. The sound scattered crows again. The choosing was nearly done. Children climbed into wagons, holding tight to strange hands, shrinking from rough voices calling them boy, or girl, or you. Babies were swaddled against shoulders they didn't know, faces they would forget. The morning sun crawled higher, burning the mist off the fields. The platform emptied. Voices faded. Dust settled. Eli stood alone. The last one. The matron counted the tags, frowned, then counted again. No takers. A man called from a wagon already halfway down the road. His voice was neither cruel nor kind, simply curious. No, the matron said shortly, and turned away. The train's whistle screamed again, long and shrill. Eli clutched the toy soldier to his chest and looked to the horizon, where the smoke thinned and the field stretched forever. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. And then, as if the moment had never happened, the town went back to its day. The train groaned as it pulled away, steel screaming against steel, the platform vanishing behind them like smoke in the wind. Eli sat pressed against the cracked wood of the carriage wall, the toy soldier clutched in his hand, its paint nearly gone. The car smelled of damp timber and old sweat, the scent of blankets washed too few times, and boots that had seen too many miles. The other children, the ones no one chose, sat scattered across the benches. Quiet. Frayed. A girl rocked back and forth, her eyes unfocused, lips moving with no sound. Somewhere near the middle of the car, a boy named Sam lay flat on the bench, staring at the dark ceiling as if it might swallow him. Eli looked out the dirty window. The town grew smaller and smaller, its buildings gray with distance, until it disappeared entirely behind fields of wind-brushed wheat. The woman in the lavender bonnet hadn't looked back. Not once. The train carved its way through open country, past brittle hills and crooked fence lines, past patches of bare earth where crops had failed. The sky stretched wide and hollow above them, the color of dull tin. The children didn't speak. Words had lost their weight. The rhythm of the train was their only song. Sam rolled to his side without a word. The girl who'd been humming now sat still, her glassy eyes locked on nothing. A matron sharpened a pencil by lamplight, the sound a slow scrape-snap-scrape. She adjusted the ledger with practiced hands, crossing out lines, rewriting dates. Her lips didn't move, but her eyes flicked quickly. That night, the train slowed at a weathered station, lit only by a few lanterns swinging in the wind. Townsfolk waited, their boots muddy, their expressions unreadable. One man stepped forward, smoke-streaked hands clutching his hat. A matron led out a boy no older than 5, one leg dragging slightly behind him. He was carried off without a word, his name tag fluttering once before disappearing into the folds of the farmer's coat. Eli watched. No one looked at him. At the next stop, Sam was gone, taken in the dark without fanfare. A matron folded his coat, pulled the pin from his tag, and scratched his name out from the record. She didn't say where he went. She never did. The train moved on, slower now. At the next stop, when the doors opened to reveal a handful of curious eyes and candlelight behind lace curtains, Eli stepped forward and asked, his voice hoarse from disuse, "Will someone take me?" No answer. Just the wind and the clatter of hoofbeats fading down the road. The doors shut again. Later, when the others had drifted into fitful sleep, Eli remained awake. Moonlight poured through the slats, pale and thin, painting silver lines across their sleeping faces. He leaned his head to the frost-glazed window and lifted one finger, drawing the soft shape of a woman's face, one he was trying not to forget. Her hair, the color of river mud. Her eyes, maybe green. Or brown. He wasn't sure anymore. But the hum, he remembered that. A tune in Yiddish, soft as summer dust. She used to sing it when she rocked him to sleep in the attic with peeling wallpaper. The train jerked to a stop. Rain now, thick and cold. The station they'd arrived at was near deserted, the platform slick with mud, the lamp swinging wildly on its post. Thunder rolled over the open plains, and somewhere far off, a dog barked once, then went quiet. No one met the train. No names were called. No faces peered through the gloom, searching for a child. The storm swallowed the silence whole. Back in the car, a toddler began to sob, curled small in the corner. His cheeks were red and slick with tears, and his hands gripped nothing. Eli crossed the aisle quietly and held out his toy soldier, the one with one arm missing. The boy took it with shaking hands and curled around it. The matron looked up from her papers. She said nothing. Morning came, gray and dull. Another town. Another lineup. Another silence when Eli stepped forward. No takers. The matron moved down the line with her clipboard, calling names that no longer meant anything. Children were chosen or not, carried away or left behind. Eli sat down without being told. He no longer asked. He spoke less now, saving his voice for moments when it might still matter. His words shrank, like his coat sleeves, like the toy soldier's body, worn down with time and touching. He watched faces as they passed, hopeful, indifferent, curious, cruel. He searched everyone, not for kindness, just for notice. But no one stopped. Not for him. The soldier had lost its arm completely now. Eli didn't remember when. The train shuddered as it slowed, wheels grinding against rusted track, a long shriek of metal lost in the moaning wind. Outside, the sky hung heavy and low, a sheet of iron threatening rain. It was the last stop before the end of the line. A desolate station, more a leaning shack than a depot. The roof sagged, the paint peeled. No lantern hung by the door. Only the muddy earth stretching out in every direction, grass bending in the wind like old men bowing their heads. Inside the train car, for children remained, a girl with red pigtails, dirt smudged across her cheek, her eyes flat as old glass. A mute boy, no older than 6, with hair so blonde it was nearly white, his lips forever sealed, his face unreadable. An infant wrapped in an old quilt, sleeping fitfully, a pale hand rising and falling with each thin breath. And Eli, he sat near the back, knees drawn to his chest, the one-armed soldier clutched against his chest. His shirt hung loose, collar frayed. His hair hung into his eyes. The matron's ledger sat open, only a few names left. She held her pencil in one hand like a blade, as though it could carve a future from nothing. At the platform, a lone figure stood waiting, a man tall but hunched, his skin the color of old paper, stretched thin over sharp cheekbones. A long coat hung from his shoulders, too big for his narrow frame. No wife at his side, no children clinging to his hand, no wagon behind him, just him. The matron stepped down, ledger clutched tight. The man pointed a bony finger toward the mute boy. The matron hesitated. "The girl's near 12, she offered. "Strong back. Knows kitchen work." The man shook his head once. A slow, final thing. No words passed between them. The mute boy was led from the car, his feet splashing in the gathering puddles. He didn't look back. The man took his hand, and together they vanished into the curtain of wind and gray. The girl with red pigtails gripped the bench so tight her knuckles went white. The matron didn't glance her way. The rain began, cold, bitter, a slow tapping on the roof, then a steady drumbeat. Eli stood. Again, he stepped toward the open door, the wind biting his face. The matron didn't stop him. The platform was slick, mud swallowing his bare toes. The rain plastered his hair to his head. He looked up at the man, who had paused at the far edge of the platform. Eli opened his mouth, the same words waiting on his tongue. "Will someone take me?" The man didn't turn, didn't pause, didn't so much as flick his eyes toward the boy. The curtain of rain closed behind him like a shutting door. The matron marked another line through a name in her book. Only 2 left now. The infant stirred, a thin whimper breaking the air. The girl with red pigtails pulled her shawl tighter, but her shoulders shook. She didn't cry. Neither of them did anymore. The train let out a sigh of steam, the last of its strength leaving it. Eli stepped back inside. His skin was wet, cold as the tin roof above them. He sat. The matron shut the door against the storm and settled in her seat by the ledger. She didn't look at him. Outside, the station lay empty again. No more wagons. No more families. No more strangers. This was the end. The final stop before the train turned back east, or rusted on the tracks. Eli didn't speak again. The girl with red pigtails laid her head against the wall, her eyes open, staring at something only she could see. The infant drifted in and out of sleep. The rain fell harder, a steady roar against the roof. Night came, pulling darkness over the plains like a thick, woolen shroud. No one came. No one asked for Eli. The toy soldier slipped from his fingers and landed against the floor with a soft, hollow knock. He left it there. Outside, the wind howled through the cracks in the station walls. The world stretched empty in every direction, and the train waited in vain for no one.